combined, Martin Luther King Day and Robert E. Lee's birthday arrived 6 months after the racially motivated church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. THV11's Rolly Hoyt looks at how this is framing the debate this time around.
We are a week away from the federal and state holiday. After Charleston, it seemed the idea of taking the Confederate general's birthday off of the third Monday in January would have been inevitable. 6 months on, arguments continue.
This is wrong. It was evil, although it's part of the history, but it was very, very evil.
Now they want to downgrade Robert E. Lee's birthday.
We're looking at an opportunity for everyone to come together and pay homage.
Arkansas is one of 3 states that still honors General Robert E. Lee on the same day as the federal holiday honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Proposals to end the practice couldn't make it out of a legislative committee last year. But then, June 17th, the 9 killed in Charleston, South Carolina. The accused killers seen wearing Confederate and apartheid symbols. In the months since, Confederate flags, names, and statues have come down. Supporters of what they call their Southern heritage approaching this week, hoping to stem that tide.
ISIS is tearing down monuments all over the country, tearing down heritage, and that's what a certain group is trying to tear down the Southern heritage.
Civil rights leaders plan to keep up the pressure on MLK Day this year.
And we're trying to bring to the conscience of the people of Arkansas that it's time for Arkansas to move on some issues that continue to divide us.
Governor Asa Hutchinson has picked a side.
It's important that that day be distinguished and separate and focused on that civil rights struggle and what he personally did.
It's a dual celebration that has sparked controversy, especially over the last couple years, but it has never been formally changed. Even Governor Hutchinson called for the General Assembly to change the holiday, but nothing was ever passed. Now that conversation is sparking again with the Little Rock City Council. At the Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting Tuesday night, a resolution is on the table to make Martin Luther King Day exclusively for Martin Luther King Jr. The resolution asks the Little Rock delegation to the 91st Arkansas General Assembly to sponsor legislation to make the change because holidays can only be changed by the General Assembly. If passed, this resolution would signify that the city of Little Rock thinks it's more appropriate to honor the work of Dr. King than Lee. This resolution not only singles out Lee, but says it's preferable not to honor any of the events or persons involved in the Civil War with a holiday. I spoke with Mayor Stodola about this resolution and what impact it could have.
I don't think it's going to have any impact specifically other than it, if the ordinance or resolution passes tomorrow, it's a declaration of what the body politic of the city of Little Rock thinks about it.
And quite a few of you also had opinions about that possible change. Over 125 people commented on our Facebook post where we asked your thoughts. Miriam Kennedy says yes to the change because that would honor MLK by making a holiday that all races celebrate together inclusively. And Robert E. Lee could have his own day, recognizing his birthday as a holiday as well. Angela Norton Sight says she thinks it would be much more peaceful to just leave the 2 celebrations together as one holiday. And Karen Schuler-Richardson says MLK should stay on that day, but Lee should not even have a day.
Governor Asa Hutchinson will hold a signing ceremony tomorrow morning to sign a law that separates Martin Luther King Day and Robert E. Lee Day in the state of Arkansas. It came after lawmakers wrestled with the issue over the last 2 sessions, and now local civil rights leaders are reacting to the bill. THV11's Jamal Goss spoke with them today.
It will be a defining moment for the governor and Arkansans, both for and against the new law. Activists are excited about the decision while hoping this will open doors for other civil rights progress throughout the state.
Well, I think it's marvelous. I think all credit belongs to the governor.
Arkansas's MLK Commission Chair Phil Kaplan agreeing with the decision by the governor to separate the national holiday recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. and the state holiday for Confederate General Robert E. Lee.
I think the bill is important because it contains other things other than the separation of the holidays.
The bill requires the State Department of Education to develop curriculum teaching students about the historic contributions of African Americans, beginning with the 2018-2019 school year.
With that background, it is incredibly important and significant that all of that now becomes a part of the learning process.
I respect both of them historically because that's what happened.
Civil rights activist and Fair Housing Commission co-founder Annie Abrams, hoping this will open doors for other civil rights matters like House Bill 2053. Abrams says it would dismantle the Arkansas Fair Housing Commission. But for now, she equates the separation of the holidays as something Dr. King dreamed, equality for everyone.
Historically, Robert E. Lee became a historical person in the history of this country during the time of the Civil War.
And says that the governor signing the bill into law is sending a message to those in power.
You can't hardly separate one from the other, but you do need to know which comes first.
After the signing ceremony, the celebration of General Lee will move from the third Monday in January to the second Saturday in October.
The legislative session is winding down, and Governor Hutchinson took time to celebrate another major achievement. In this case, it drew a largely bipartisan crowd. THV11's Rolly Hoyt sums up a busy day at the Capitol that began with a major signing ceremony.
Craig, the governor proudly signed the bill that splits the holidays celebrating Martin Luther King and General Lee. He also issued the first veto of this session. The day has been another sign of how successful the governor's agenda has been.
I expected this debate would divide us, but instead, during the debate, we listened to each other and the conversation brought us together.
Governor Hutchinson summing up the last few months in the effort to split the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday from Robert E. Lee Day. The idea failed to get out of committee in 2015, just as the governor took office. His full backing got it to his desk for a signature today.
It is now law.
The legislation expands school history curriculum to put extra focus on the civil rights leader and the Confederate general. An eloquent speech by Representative George McGill last Friday changed or convinced many minds as he reached across the aisle.
Tell my friends about my friend Charlie Collins. I hated his gun bill. But he is one of my best friends.
The governor singled out McGill at today's ceremony.
It's very humbling, all the wonderful comments and statements that have been made about it.
McGill referred to the campus carry bill. The divisive measure awaits the governor's signature, and there is a news conference scheduled for Wednesday. He will announce his plans for it then. Meanwhile, the governor is proud of the way the session has unfolded this year.
I identified 13 bills that were my priorities. All 13 have been passed. And so my agenda is finished.
And I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
Robert Kennedy speaking to a predominantly black crowd in Indianapolis back in 1968. And it seems incomprehensible to us now that most of the people in that crowd did not know of Dr. King's death. Kennedy figures prominently in my memory of this night, and so does a Little Rock landmark. Our state capitol figures prominently in what happened 50 years ago today in this city. I was a senior at Little Rock Central High School, and several of us had been on a bus ride to Jonesboro for journalism days at Arkansas State University, and we got back to Little Rock. My mother picked me up in front of the school, and once inside the car, she told me Dr. King had been assassinated. And by the time we got home, he had died. I remember distinctly two things from that night. The first, the fear of rioting, which would become a reality in over 100 cities across the United States, but not in Little Rock, not in Arkansas. Shortly after Dr. King was assassinated, our Republican governor, Winthrop Rockefeller, locked arms with over a dozen black ministers to diffuse whatever was building in our area. The second thing I remember, Robert F. Kennedy speaking to a crowd in Indianapolis. He too mourned Dr. King and gave us a vision of America that was racially tolerant. It was considered to be one of the greatest speeches in American history, even though it was extemporaneous. Also, the big question was, who would lead the movement now that Dr. King was gone? The answer to that we now know, no one. His legacy leads the movement. Even though it was 50 years ago, he still is the true north for this entire issue. Now, there are those who say that we have not gone forward at all. There are those who say we've actually slid backward. There are those who say it's not relevant now. But then there are also those of us who say, keep marching, keep moving forward. And like Governor Rockefeller, it has to be arm in arm as we continue our journey on this road to unconditional equality.